Forward to basics. People are thinking, well, we have to go forward to absolutely the future, technology, everything. Innovation means technology. Well, it is in a certain way, but innovation is not only technology. It's being smart and trying to handle the fact that we have 8 billion people on this planet. And it's not only by technology, it's by being smart. It's by behaving smart. It's by understanding people. It's by using psychologists and sociologists and anthropologists and economists and marketers and technologists, engineers and mathematicians and philosophers and historians. And this is what we do. We try to understand the human behavior and changing human behavior by listening to scientists. And understand that in the last 10 years, worldwide, we had more than 70 million extra scientists on this planet. 70 million. A lot of them are living in China, India, Indonesia, and Pakistan. And these 4 countries together have 40% of the total population of this planet. In India, within a few months, the largest country in terms of population on this earth, 1.4 billion Indian people. Well, the youngsters in India, younger than 30 years of age, well, count them and you'll reach 500 million people. So Generation Z and Generation Alpha, the next generation, younger than 15 years of age, well, we'll have, in India, will be more than the total population of the European Union, which is enormous. And this is interesting because this will happen also to the world. They will come over here to inspire us or being inspired by you. I'm not talking about global economy today, I'm talking about psychology. Mere psychology, you and I and our clients and our internal clients. The newcomers, Generation Z, aha, Generation Z, Generation Alpha, aha, Generation Alpha. Very important. But understand that we have, if you want to be smart in the future, we have to not to think back to basics. Everyone's talking about we have to go back to the essence, back to basics. I think that we have to think in forward to basics, not back to Bokrek, if you know what I mean. Forward to basics means that we have to understand technology and also where the limits are of technology. Forward to basics, in other words, and always start with demography. This is for insurance, for insurers, very important, demography. And this is interesting, of course. This is 2025, more or less the population curves in Belgium or in Holland or in Germany or in France or in Britain. It's more or less the same structure. A lot of people, and then there is this decline, usually on the right side, a decline of people older than 50 years of age. Once 50, the likelihood to become ill or to die is exponentially growing. And the baby boomers are here. A lot of them are, I have to take this. This is the youngest baby boomer will be 60. I will be 60 in 2025. And this is an enormous decline. The boomers are out. Once 65, they are also retired, going to their sex, drugs, and rock and roll way of life, well, sex prescription drugs of rock and roll way of life as from 65 at the end of this decade. And they will be followed by the younger generations. But before talking about generations, this is of course diminution of the number of people as from 50 years of age. But this is also interesting throughout Western Europe, throughout Canada, throughout Oceania, Japan, South Korea, not America, not the United States. In the United States, you have a perfect ceiling here. You know, the youngest generations will replace the older generations. When the baby boomers will retire, you have the same amount of the next generation. Why is that the case in the United States and not in Canada or in Western Europe or in Japan or Australia or New Zealand? Because in the United States, you have a lot of people living in the Bible Belt. They don't like contraceptive things. A lot of Hispanics and Afro-Americans, they love large families. So a lot of youngsters over there. So when the economy will grow, hopefully after the war, then it is easier for the Americans to pick up talents among a lot of youngsters. We don't have a lot of youngsters. I was born in 1964. In my birth year, 1964, we had 170,000 Belgians being born in 1964. If you look at the ones now 20 years of age here, well, now 17 and 2025, 20, these boys and girls were together in 2005 with only 120,000 in that year. So this is a decline from 170,000 until 120,000. It will be more difficult for you when you have to recruit people among the youngsters, to find a lot of youngsters to replace the baby boomers who are falling out. This is interesting, of course. This is a demographic, interesting curve or stat. But it's not enough to look at demographics. You have also to mix demographic stats with knowledge about generations. And there are, I've made this graph, I've constructed, I disclosed this graph in 4 components, in 4 segments, and all segments of the population has a focal point. And the number 1 focus of the oldest people, not only in Belgium, but all around Western Europe, 75 plus. Well, what is a focal point number 1? It's health. Curative health. Not preventative health, curative health. 175 every day you will be taking pills or going to the doctor or being in a hospital. This is the truth. Focus number 1 for 75 plus is curative health. Now it is focus number 1 for the ones between 50 and 75 in 2025. It's not health, it's wealth. The boomers and the oldest part of the Generation X, the boomers are 60 plus, Generation X is 45 up to 60 in 2025. So 50 up to 60 are the oldest Generation X boys and girls, together with the boomers. Well, the boomers are more and more into retirement. And once 50, you are slowing down. Your children are out your house. You don't have that energy anymore to put a lot of stress on your work. So you're slowing down. You're doing more with your time. So time will be there. There's a wealth of time. It's a time budget, absolutely in wealth, but also a financial budget. We know that the ones between 50 and 75, at average in Western Europe, so also in Belgium, they have 2.5 times more money to spend compared to the ones between 50 and 75 25 years ago. 2.5 times more money to spend, logically also. You have double incomes now. The ones born after the Second World War, now double incomes. A 13th month, a 14th month, group insurances, and name it. So there is, for the average Belgian boy or girl of 60 years, there is 2.5 times more money to spend. And the good news is they will spend, which wasn't the case for the pre-war generation. The pre-war generation, well, they know about scarcity and shame. They know about the war. And they are very conservative in terms of money spending. No. God meant us to save the money and give it to the next generation, which is good news for the baby boomers. The most wealthy generation ever gets also extra money from their parents, who don't have a lot of money, only one income. A lot of baby boomers are working in the knowledge and service economy like you and I. And once retired, well, you'll see them spending the money. It's known that the generation of I'm saying this for more than 10 years now, that the generation of baby boomers, and now also the Generation X, is coined as the Generation Ski. And ski means spending their kids' inheritance. So who is younger than, let's say, 40 years in this room? Who is younger than 40? You all look younger than 40, of course, but who is younger? And you have baby boomer parents, I believe, younger than 70 more or less, or 75 even, yeah. Well, the thing is, you're staying here to have a drink and a snack afterwards. But, well, wait until tomorrow, and please go to your parents and try to financially strip them down tomorrow, because within 20 years there will be nothing left to strip down. Your baby boomer parents are spending, and they know about it. They have worked very hard for you, and their partner also worked very hard. 9 to 5, no, 5 to 9. But once retired, après nous la guerre, après nous les mouches, they are spending a lot of money. And you can say, Konings, but I'm in insurance, and I know what you have told me about that youngsters, we have less siblings, less brothers and sisters than my parents. So let them spend a lot. In the end, the inheritance will be for myself and only one sister or one brother. So it will be more or less flattening out. It will be more or less the same as my parents, their inheritance in those days. The thing is also, that is not correct. You have this life expectancy growing, you know. Every year, 2.5 months extra life expectancy is coming extra on our life expectancy, which is good news, of course. So your parents will die 7 years later at average than your grandparents, which is good news for you. You have longer living parents. The bad news is that you have to wait 7 years longer before you can cash, which is also something to remind. So this is a wealthy generation, wealth in terms of finance and wealth in terms of time. A lot of time, a lot of money. And they will spend the time and the money. The third generation, you'd say, why not between 25 and 50, but now between 30 and 50? Well, there's an argument for that, and that is because of, in Belgium and the rest of Western Europe, the average age to have children, to start having children, is 30, is 29.8 or 29 and 10 months. So as from 30 years, you have the childbearing and rearing years. And between 30 and 50, it's all about children, young children, growing up children. The childbearing and rearing generation, it's not about wealth, it's about wellness, well-being, because double income, okay, but also working together with your spouse, with your partner, in the knowledge and service economy, and also having young children. It gives you a lot of stress. And we know that in 10 years' time, the number of burnouts has doubled. And where do you find the burnout people? Between 30 and 45 years of age. The ones with young children. So burnout doubled. Wellness, well-being is an important focus for that generation. Well, not only physical wellness, but also mental wellness is more and more en vogue. And then you have the last generation, well, the last segment of this stat or of this demography curve. And it's logic also. It's not health, it's not wealth, it's not well. It should be hell for the generation younger than 30. Well, I have to put this in between brackets. It's hell in that term, and we don't, well, it's not so funny. The first generation where the World Bank and USO is saying, well, this generation, today younger than 30, more or less, or 25, it's the first generation that will not exceed, in terms of financial power, their parents or grandparents. Normally, you have always a better, financially better generation, the next generation, but it will not be the case for that generation. At large, as a group, of course. Hell means also the climate crisis. Hell means also all kinds of uncertainties. Uncertainty is good news for you, if you're an insurer. Uncertainty helps you, of course. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. FUD is absolutely the mantra of the insurer. So Hell is, for that generation, absolutely something to think about. They know they have a lot of problems ahead. Certainly when they understand we have 8 billion people to control, more or less. So this is not only interesting, but I think also you have to add the layer of generations. And these are the 7 generations. Generation Alpha in 2025, younger than 15 years. Generation Alpha, it's the next generation. This is the truly first digital generation. If you are 20 or 25 or 30 or 35, you can call yourself a digital native, but you aren't. You aren't. The real digital native is a digital aboriginal, younger than 15 in 2025. And scientists, well, the psychologists are saying, if you are able first to swipe before you can grab, then you are Generation Alpha. Then you are a truly digital aboriginal. Then Generation Z, the troublesome generation, now entering the career path, entering your companies also, is now between 12 and 27, will be between 15 and 30 in 2025. The Zoomers. Going to talk about them a little later on. Generation Y, the millennial generation between 30 and 45 in 2025. The millennials, most important generation today. A lot of important leaders in political parties these days are older Generation Z or younger Generation Y. Look at Belgium. We have 6 parties in government. 4 of the 6 leaders of these parties the leaders are younger than 33. Groen, CD&V, MR, Vooruit, younger than 33 years of age, all 4 of them. Then we have Generation X. Well, X means I don't know. Variable X, you know, I don't know. And this is truly for Generation X. It's a generation between the millennials, Generation Y, and the baby bloomers. The baby bloomers are the blooming baby boomers. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Still very energetic. But Gen X is not knowing what to do. Should we be more like the boomers or more like the millennials? Should we behave more cooperative, which is typical for the Generation Y, or more competitive, which is typical for the baby bloomers? Should I behave more analogous, like the bloomers, or more digital, like the Generation Y? I don't know. Question mark. Baby bloomers, very, very strong generation, of course. The baby bloomers are a competitive generation. I have a talent and you have a talent, so I'm going to destroy your talent. I will be better than you. We were born that way. Well, not born. We were raised by the American idea of, after the Second World War, the Marshall Plan gave Europe a lot of money. The Americans asked us to behave like them in a competitive way. So we did. The youngster Generation Y and even Generation Z and some of the Generation X are more a cooperative generation, having a more cooperative mindset, which is interesting to understand. These 3 generations are cooperative generations. I'm telling you, not being competitive. They see their parents being competitive and they say, no, it's not working that way. I have a talent and you have a talent. Let's join talents so we can go quicker on the next stage, on the next level. This works better. It has nothing to do with communism or solidarity. It has everything to do with being smart. To cooperate, to being together works better than being in a competition. It's togetherness that works for that generation. It's a sharing generation. We know that this is a sharing generation. I'm going to let you see a clip, now 4 years old, from a client of us, Volvo Europe. Let's see.
Raindrops and roses and whiskers on kittens.
most important comes here. It's the slogan by Volvo. By not owning things, you're not owned by things. It was signed by a traditional car manufacturer in the hands of another traditional car manufacturer, Geely, in China. By not owning things, you're not owned by things. And we've asked them, what is wrong with you? You want to sell a lot of cars. This is your business model. Yeah, we know that. But we know also Generation Y. And in Europe, Northern America, Oceania, South Korea, Japan, we see that Generation Y is less and less willing to buy a car. They want to access a car. They want to share a car. This is a cooperative sharing generation. So if you can't beat them, join them. We know that. But don't be afraid, Herman, they said. We will sell a lot of cars in China, India, Indonesia, Pakistan, Thailand, Vietnam, etc., in Africa, in Southern America. They love to buy cars over there. But for the Western, between brackets, world, it's about sharing. We see that also happening in Antwerp and Brussels, and Mechelen, because it's between Antwerp and Brussels. The poppy cars, the sharing cars, very popular. But 75% of the poppy users, these car sharing users, are younger than 35. 3/4 of them are millennials or Generation Z. Boomers don't like to share cars. The number of sharing car users was in 2011 in the European Union, 700,000. This number reached over 15 million in 2021. 70% of them younger than 40 years of age. This is a millennial kind of attitude, not a boomer kind of attitude. It's about cooperative and not sharing and not collaborative. And this is also the consequence. This is the slachthuis seat, well, the slaughterhouse seat in Antwerp. Within a few years, the viaduct of Merksem will be gone within a few years, and this will be a part of Antwerp. This is where the baby boomers come together in beautiful houses, apartments, with a lot of space for bikes. Biking is very popular, enormously popular these days, thanks to Corona, among others. Approximately 20 million bicycles were sold in the European Union by 2020. By 2030, approximately 30 million bicycles will be sold in the European Union, of which some 17 million are e-bikes. By comparison, 50 million cars are expected to be sold in the European Union by 2030. Bikes are becoming popular, also because health, preventative health, is becoming very important for the next generations to come. And a little bit, let's say, fad, you know, a fad, a trend, a rage, a fad. Cycles, cross cycles will be the next thing, trend watchers, cool hunters are saying. And these are cross cycles. These are bikes, like small cars, but you have, and electric, so you don't have to use your legs. It's an electric car, but it's a bike. It's a cross cycle, also to be used for the couriers, for the last mile providers of e-commerce. Interesting, that Generation Y. And a sibling brand of Volvo is Lynk & Co. And this is absolutely made, constructed for Generation Y. And the Chinese were the first to, well, Geely started this new car concept for the Generation Y in 2016. They were asking themselves, and this is very smart, why should someone around 2025, Generation Y in those days, 7 years ago, 6, 7 years ago, were between 20 and 30 years of age. Why should he or she, a starter, using a small, fragile, second-hand car? It's too dangerous for them. They don't have the skills. They are not mature being a driver in a car. Yet they use fragile, second-hand, small cars. A lot of casualties in that generation. Let them give a firm car, the firm Panzer. You know, firm covered, like a Volvo. But a Volvo is too expensive. So what did Geely do? They've asked the Volvo engineers to make the same car, XC40, on the same chassis, in only one color, well, in two colors, in blue and black, and to rename it as the Lynk & Co car. And now you see a lot of Lynk & Co's also in Belgium these days. The Y of Lynk & Co is the Y of Generation Y. And this is a Netflix car. You can also, you have to buy, well, you can buy it, but you don't have to buy it. You have to rent it on a monthly base. And it's not like leasing, it's like Netflix. If you are fed up with the car, you say stop, and it stops immediately. €500 per month, all included. A hybrid car, full technology, Volvo, €500. Insurance included, taxes included, everything except the fuel. €500. How is it possible? Well, they don't make advertising. They don't have 75 showrooms. They have a garage, well, more garages. If your car is broke or has to be repaired or controlled, they pick up your car and bring it to a dark garage, some in the forest, and they bring it back to you. Only one model. There's nothing on to it. But the most interesting thing is that therefore I'm going to show it, and I'm not driving a Lynk & Co, I'm not part of Lynk & Co. I don't want to drive it, because I'm not Generation Y. The most important thing is they have researched Generation Y also in Europe. And this is so interesting to understand. This is how you should also understand and reach Generation Y today. You'd say, well, Generation Y, youngsters, a lot of technology, a lot of colors. No. Generation Y is this, with very few colors. This is a silence room, raw, authentic, not too much impulses. This is a clubhouse, like you were talking about a clubhouse. This is also a club, it's not a showroom. This is where you can see the car. Only one central brand store per region, one in Flanders, in Antwerp, one in Holland, in Amsterdam, one in Gothenburg in Sweden, one in Madrid, one in Berlin. The rest you have to use your tablet or smartphone. But this is how Generation Y is today, in a silent room. Why silent? Because, well, you know, the focus is well. A lot of noise for them at the office, a lot of noise with the children at home. It should be silent. Resonance rooms. Think also, if you want to have contact with your clients, make of your office or of your hospitality room a resonance room. Not a lot of noise, not a lot of colors, not a lot of technology, but being very quiet. This should be, this is the image of a showroom today. It doesn't work for that generation. It's too puzzled and too over-stimulating, which is not interesting for them. This should be the answer, with only one car, the showroom. This is the outside, 200 meters from the Dam in Amsterdam, 200 meters from the center of Amsterdam. This is the one in Antwerp, 200 meters from the Groenplaats. The same idea, a resonance room, a clubhouse. It gives more resonance, you know, it gives more a feeling of togetherness. You and your client, very client-centric. 7, 8 years ago, we were working on a project for Accor hotels for Belgium and Holland. And in France, the big chief, Sébastien Bazin, for the Dutch-speaking and Flemish-speaking people, very funny. The boss is Bazin, if you get my point of view. Bazin is the boss. 7 women and 6 men of Generation Y was told in 2014, 8 years ago, will constitute a shadow COMEX and breathe new life into our management. He said that because he was looking around. He said, well, we have only 50 plus people on this board. And if you want to make a new hotel chain for youngsters, for the millennials, ask millennials to think about a new chain. But 8 years ago, the millennials didn't have children. Now they have. Those days they haven't. And what was the style of the rooms? Not quite residence rooms. A lot of colors, a lot of technology, overstimulating, which is also to be understood because younger generations want to be overstimulated by colors. That doesn't work today because they are overstimulated and burnout is very near to them. You don't want to use these kind of colors for a generation near to burnout. So this is the way you have to reach the Generation Y today, in clubhouses, in silence sanctuaries. Not only when you want to buy or sell cars, but also when you want to sell insuring products or services, or being a baker, or selling bikes and cross cycles. This is the way it works. My most preferred one is that of Gothenburg, the clubhouse. It has a sauna. So in your nudie, you can talk about a car you would like to buy. It's all about hospitality. Hospitality is empathy, is understanding your client. And Link & Co understands their clients. They have researched them, and they know about silence, and they know about a personal approach, and they know about hypo-stimulation, not over or hyper-stimulation, because hospitality is a very human trait of empathy. It starts with empathy. And this is an interesting notion, because technology is very important. Technology gives you the time back to make an empathic relation to your clients, to your prospects. You don't have to worry about certain things that should be done. Technology is there. What you get back is time to evolve empathy and to construct the important concept or notion of hospitality.